The movie opens with a drug cartel leader's plane landing at a private airport, flanked by a large squad of armed guards. After arriving at his home, the cartel leader changes into swimwear and takes a bath in his private pool. While swimming, he finds he has misplaced his watch and dives underwater to retrieve it. Suddenly, an unidentified man snatches the cartel leader and submerges him until his death. Arthur Bishop, the assassin, takes advantage of the turmoil to flee the home safely. He goes to a nearby river, jumps in, and escapes. Bishop is a top-tier hitman known for his rigorous ethics and extraordinary proficiency in eliminating targets. With years of expertise, he possesses a careful disposition that enables him to complete missions with precision. Back at home, Bishop speaks with his lone friend and mentor, Harry McKenna. Harry, a prominent businessman, has been a regular client of Bishop's for many years, resulting in a true bond between them. During one of their chats, Harry tells Bishop about his discontent with his son, Steve. After finishing a work in Colombia, they parted ways, with Harry paying Bishop for his services. However, things take a nasty turn when Bishop comes home to check his new contract, only to discover that it includes assassinating his friend Harry. Doubting the assignment's authenticity, he calls his employer for confirmation and wants a face-to-face meeting. They agree to his request and dispatch a private jet to meet him. When Bishop arrives, he meets with Dean, Harry's business partner. Dean discusses a previous expedition in South Africa 6 months ago, which ended tragically. It was their largest assignment to date, but 6 of their agency's assassins died. Dean and Harry are the only ones who knew the mission details, and Dean believes Harry betrayed them. The accusations are backed with a recent offshore transaction on Harry's accounts. Bishop asks Dean for a nonviolent settlement to their quarrel, hoping to save lives. Dean demands Bishop complete the assignment within 48 hours, or he will employ someone else. While Bishop feels Harry is guilty, he wants to speak with him in person before taking any serious action. When Bishop is alone, he calls Harry and tricks him into leaving the building and going to the lower level of the parking lot. He confronts Harry there and prepares to execute him. Rather than be upset by the ploy, Harry answers with a knowing smirk. Bishop expresses his reluctance in taking Harry's life. Harry argues that Dean would employ additional assassins to seek him down, making it a non-viable choice. In an unexpected turn of events, Harry reveals an ancient handgun he has never used before. He gives it to Bishop, encouraging him to be the one to carry out the act. Bishop executes him instantly. During Harry's funeral, Bishop offers to take his son, Steve, to his father's house. Steve tells Bishop that he intends to exact revenge. When Bishop asks if it will bring him actual satisfaction, Steve replies he is unsure but plans to find out. Later, Steve pursues a carjacker and waits in his vehicle for the criminal to strike. When an opportunity arises, Steve unleashes a violent attack. Steve is unaware that Bishop has covertly shadowed him and intervenes to prevent a potential murder. The next day, Steve approaches Bishop and requests that he train him as an assassin. Bishop, however, declines the request and advises Steve to return home. Bishop feels guilty about killing Steve's father. In the following days, he decides to train Steve, who shows steady progress. As days pass, Steve gradually improves and Bishop also goes with him on one of his missions. Bishop assassinates his target and shows Steve how to conceal his tracks. In a dangerous move, Bishop shares his next contract with Steve, revealing the target to be a man Steve knows at the coffee shop. This target is identified as Burke, an assassin working for a different agency. Steve discovers Burke's flaws, including a preference for young guys and little dogs, like the one they adopted together. Burke approaches Steve and invites him to drinks. Bishop suggests that Steve spike Burke's drink with rohypnol to cause an overdose, but Steve picks a more challenging path and disregards the advice. Instead, he convinces Burke to come to his apartment. Later that night, while Burke undresses, Steve tries to choke him with a belt. Burke's size overwhelms Steve, resulting in a nasty struggle. After a hard fight, Steve successfully ends Burke's life, despite suffering terrible injuries. Despite successfully completing the assignment, Bishop is disheartened that everything did not go as smoothly as he had anticipated. Dean later calls Bishop to express his concern with Steve's role in the Burke contract. Bishop clarifies that the contract was received via Harry, not Dean. Dean wonders if Steve is aware that Bishop is responsible for his father's death. Infuriated by Bishop's frustration, Dean informs him that he is being closely followed. Later, when Bishop receives a new contract, he is entrusted with removing Andrew, the leader of a cult-like church. To ensure a flawless execution, Steve and Bishop design a scheme to give Andrew adrenaline while simulating a heart attack. This manner, when the paramedics arrive, they will unintentionally inject a second lethal dosage of adrenaline. While investigating Andrew's hotel room, Bishop and Steve prepare for their mission. Soon later, a doctor enters, known for providing various medicines to Andrew. This time, Andrew wants something different. Realizing that the doctor's dose could counteract the effects of the intended adrenaline overdose, they must act quickly and devise another method of eliminating him. After administering the medication, the doctor receives an important phone call and must depart, leaving Andrew alone in the room. This is their opportunity to strike. They emerge from their hiding place, suffocate him, and quickly withdraw into the wall. Given Andrew's past with these substances, his guys initially believe he died of an overdose. However, the security crew conducts a thorough inspection of the room just to be certain. Bishop and Steve are quickly identified, resulting in a violent shootout with the guards. They successfully avoid the guards and exit the building during the evacuation. Bishop insisted that they return home separately. While at the airport, Bishop sees one of the killers he thought was dead from the South African mission. Curious, he resolves to follow and figure out why this man faked his death. During the argument, Bishop discovers a terrible secret. Dean, his supervisor, duped him into murdering Harry and orchestrated the botched South African operation to mask his own illegal activities. The second killer, recognizing the extent of the betrayal, seeks to kill Bishop. They engage in a terrible struggle, but Bishop eventually triumphs, albeit with great effort. Fueled by this knowledge, he sets out to make things right and exact revenge on Dean. However, on his way home, he is ambushed again by assassins. Bishop eliminates them all and then uses one of their phones to track down the genius behind it all. He contacts the number and discovers that Dean has planned the entire operation, recruiting many assassins to target him. Rushing back home, he contacts Steve, only to discover that Steve, too, has been ambushed. Steve begs Bishop to return at a vital moment, but Bishop suspects Steve is being pursued by assassins. He discreetly directs Steve to a concealed gun under the couch he is sitting on. Steve quickly retrieves the gun and eliminates the 3 thugs threatening him. When Bishop arrives, he asks Steve to prepare supplies for their next mission while he plans how to approach Dean. As Steve prepares their supplies, he comes across his father's gun. It's then that he understands the man who murdered his father was Bishop, not just a car thief. In the meantime, Bishop leaves to pay a visit to a man who has faithfully served Dean for many years. He demands to know Dean's whereabouts, but the man refuses to answer, even when Bishop threatens his daughter. Bishop escalates the threat by indicating that he would harm her, which causes the terrified guy to give out Dean's location. Bishop and Steve meet and proceed to the revealed address. When Dean realizes Bishop has broken into the building, he gathers his security details and departs. Unbeknownst to Dean, Bishop and Steve await him outside. As Dean emerges from his car, they open fire, flipping the vehicle and gravely injuring Dean. They seize the opportunity and eliminate him for good. Later, in the car, Steve questions Bishop about their next steps. Bishop contends that, given their circumstances, they must adopt new identities and establish a new home. In due order, they decide to stop at a petrol station. Bishop learns that Steve has discovered Harry's gun and brought it with him. This revelation heightens Bishop's awareness of the gravity of the situation. When they arrive at the petrol station, Steve offers to get Bishop anything he might need. Bishop reassures him that he is fine, and Steve goes off to refuel. Once outside, Steve positions the nozzle so that fuel spills into the ground beneath the car. He then leaves, brandishes Harry's gun, and ignites the gas, causing a massive explosion at the gas station and destroys Bishop's vehicle. Steve then returns to Bishop's home, pausing to listen to a recording on the record player. He then heads to the garage, stealing Bishop's cherished car. While driving away, he finds a message on the car seat that foretells his demise. Steve grins at the message, but the car bursts into flames, ensuring his doom. At this point, the record player in the house finishes its song, igniting an electrical system that ignites Bishop's home. Simultaneously, a surveillance camera at the petrol station reveals Bishop exiting the car just before Steve detonated it. Bishop eventually escapes in a second vehicle that he had strategically parked nearby. Thanks for watching. If you are new, don't forget to subscribe for more of these recaps. Until next time, have a nice day.